Dear viewers, welcome to another episode of Editorial Analysis by Drishti IAS. In this program, we analyze important editorials from major newspapers such as The Hindu, The Indian Express, The Hindustan Times, etc. for effective understanding of students. Through this program, we focus on three important things. First, we link the editorial with that of the UPSC syllabus. Secondly, we try to understand the key points as mentioned in the editorial. And lastly, and most importantly, we try to learn what are the key concepts that have been mentioned in the editorial. Hope you like this new initiative of Drishti IAS. Please feel free to give us your valuable suggestions and opinions. Thank you, and let us begin today's session of editorial analysis. Dear viewer, this video is available in Hindi as well. If you wish to watch it, please visit our Hindi YouTube channel, Drishti IAS. For your convenience, the link for this video in Hindi has been provided in the description below. For today, we are looking at the editorial Cost of Haste. The editorial was in The Hindu, dated 29 July 2020. Let us begin by linking the editorial with that of the UPSC syllabus. From prelims perspective, we can look at it from current events of national and international importance and also general science. And from mains perspective, we can connect it to GS3, where we look at technology, economic development, biodiversity, environment, security and disaster management. But our major focus will be on technology. And to narrow it further, we can connect it to science and technology, that is developments and their applications and effects in everyday life. Interestingly, this editorial can also be connected to GS Paper 4, which deals with ethics, integrity and aptitude. To go further, we can deal with ethics and human interface, keenly focusing on ethics in human actions. Now, before we begin to learn the editorial, let us try to have a minimal background for the course of the editorial. If you are a keen observer of current affairs, you would realize that India has now recorded almost more than 1.4 million confirmed coronavirus infections. We have currently the world's third biggest caseload after the United States and Brazil. New infections are rising. Recently, almost 49,000 cases a day have been found. Fatalities too have been also on an upward trend with close to 32,000 deaths in total. It is obvious that this pandemic has taken a massive toll across countries. It has taken many lives across different demographics and age groups, and this has effectively put an immense strain on public health infrastructure and other resources. With this background in mind, let us try to understand the key points of the editorial. With the increasing cases in India, drug regulatory authorities are pushing to find a cure. For this, governments, drug companies, biomedical firms are scrambling to explore avenues in drugs that can provide the slightest chance of success in curing COVID-19. Due to this, there is immense pressure on drug authorities, and they, in order to facilitate the solution, have been providing many waivers. For example, with reference to trials. For instance, if an Indian company has partnered with a foreign one in developing a vaccine, then any trials already conducted by the foreign unit would be considered in allowing Indian companies to avoid repeating them in India. Let us try to learn this through an example. A is partnering with B, wherein A is the foreign entity, while B is the Indian entity. The foreign entity had successfully conducted trials in its respective region. Now, these trials can give the Indian entity exemption from conducting trials again. The second point, for drugs, those that have been proven to be safe for treating one disease may skip a fresh, large human trial or phase 3 trial. Again, hypothetically, if by tonight they say paracetamol is a probable medicine for cure or for the treatment of COVID-19, Now, since paracetamol, everyone knows, is safe for consumption, it has already undergone its trial. Therefore, the regulatory authority will provide exemption from again conducting a new large human trial or the phase 3 trial. The last or another waiver that we can look at is potential vaccines. Now, these vaccines too are now allowed to combine stages of trials. Normally, how does this work? There are 3 phases of trials, if you know. Now, a vaccine developer has to go through the first trial, submit its reports to the regulatory authority. The regulatory authority has to approve it. Then it gives permission to the vaccine developer to move to the next stage. The vaccine developer again does the next test, submits its result to the regulatory authority. Again, the regulatory authority has to approve it, and then it gives permission to the vaccine developer to move to the next stage. Again, this result is given to the regulatory authority and they have to, approve it. However, now, as mentioned, potential vaccines or vaccine developers can combine 1 or 2 stages and then give the results to the regulatory authority. However, there are also concerns that are being raised. Dear viewers, let us remember that drug and vaccine development, firstly, they are expensive, and most importantly, they are prone to failures. Is this bad? Absolutely not. Prone to failures will only make a drug more effective, as we will understand what is the reason for its failure in controlling a virus or another disease, and more tests will only make it more effective in finding a cure. Therefore, the current facilitation by the drug authorities to fast track comprehensive trials is not a good idea, because fast tracking trials or not going ahead with many trials does not guarantee that a workable vaccine or reliable drug will be found. Also, disagreements among authorities. Recently, again, you would have observed there was an issue with itolizumab. This drug is prescribed for psoriasis. Experts had suggested that if this drug is repurposed, it can be used for COVID treatment. This evidence was submitted to the regulatory authority and also to the COVID-19 task force. Regulatory authority had given its green signal to use this medicine for the treatment of COVID-19, while COVID-19 task force rejected this. Now, the problem is, despite having similar evidence, there led to disagreements among authorities on the efficacy of vaccine or drug. And this definitely does not bode well for the development of vaccine. Lastly, another concern that we have to look at is the tendency to observe the vaccine development for COVID-19 as a race. All of them focus on which country or which private company or government will try to come out with the first vaccine. That is problematic, because we need to realize that viruses do have the tendency to mutate either into oblivion, and that will be the end, or into a more dangerous format. The need of the hour is that it requires continuous work and not just one vaccine and we are done. It has to be continuous and it has to be effective to weaken the vaccine. Now let us try to summarize what all that we have learned from this editorial. First, the key points. Increasing cases of coronavirus. Third in rank, India stands. Increasing cases, that also includes fatalities. What is happening now? Drug regulators and governments are pushing for a cure. Governments, private companies are racing ahead to find this cure, and in order or due to this immense pressure, drug regulators are providing waivers such as exemptions on trials and combined trials. However, there are concerns that are being raised. 1. As we are aware, drugs or vaccines are prone to failures. Therefore, fast-tracking trials are definitely not a good idea. Also, disagreements between authorities on the efficacy of a vaccine will not bode well for the development of this vaccine. And then the tendency to observe vaccine development as a race is a very bad and problematic move. Rather, it should be a continuous work. With this, I hope we all have learned what are the key points of the editorial. Now we move to the most important segment, that is the key concepts that are mentioned in the editorial. We can understand that there are two key concepts that we have to learn from the editorial. One is about the Central Drugs Standard Control Organization and the stages in the development of the vaccine. Let us begin by trying to learn about the Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, or the CDSCO. It is the National Regulatory Authority of India. It comes under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, headquartered in New Delhi with offices and labs spread across India. It is empowered by the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, wherein it makes the CDSCO responsible for approval of drugs, conduct of clinical trials, laying down the standards for drugs, control over the quality of imported drugs, coordination of the activities of state drug control organizations, granting of licenses of certain specialized categories of critical drugs, including vaccines. Dear students, another important note we have to remember is the Rajesh Bhushan Committee. Recently, the Government of India had set up this committee to recommend reforms in India's drug regulatory system, that is the CDSCO, so that approval processes can be fast-tracked. Why was the need for this committee? If you would have noticed, with this ominous threat of coronavirus infection, several steps had to be taken to fast-track the approval process for drugs, research and vaccine development. So, the aim of the panel is to identify and institutionalize these measures so that we are well prepared for the next wave, or God forbid, another worse pandemic. Now, we move to another important concept that we have to learn. That is, the stages in the development of the vaccine. Dear viewers, let us remember that there are 4 stages in the development of vaccine. To begin with, the preclinical test, wherein vaccines are tested on animals, post which, if it is successful, there are 3 phased out trials, and lastly, the approval. Now let us elaborate a little further. The development of vaccine begins with preclinical test, wherein scientists test the vaccine on animals such as mice or monkeys to see if it produces an immune response. Once this is successful, we move towards clinical phase 3 trials. Now phase 1 trials is the first step, and it begins with the experimental vaccine being subjected to humans, around 20 to 80 subjects, to test its safety and dosage and check whether it stimulates the immune system. If this trial is successful, we move towards phase 2 of the trials, where a larger group of several hundred individuals are enrolled for testing, and they are split into groups. For example, age-wise, such as children and elderly, male, female. And now this testing, what does it do? It studies the vaccine safety, immunogenicity, proposed doses, schedule of immunizations, and the method of delivery. Once phase 2 trial is successful, we move towards the final clinical phase of trial. That is, the vaccine is given to thousands of people in this stage. Here, scientists check how many become infected compared with volunteers who receive a placebo. Now, the purpose of this trial is to determine if the vaccine actually protects against the coronavirus. Once these 3 stages are completed, we move towards the 4th and the final stage, that is the approval. The vaccine developer submits a license application to the regulatory authority in their respective country. An important question: which is the regulatory authority in our country? The CDSCO. The regulator then inspects the factory where the vaccine will be made and approve its labeling, thereby leading to the availability of this vaccine or the drug in the market. Dear viewers, also remember, these are the stages that we will have to usually follow. However, during a pandemic where the cases are extremes, a vaccine may receive emergency use authorization before a formal green signal. That is, they may not have to go through these tests, and an emergency use authorization can be issued by the government of the day. So now with this, we have also learned about the key concepts of the editorial. And now let us try to learn this editorial from the perspective of prelims and mains. Now from prelims perspective, questions can be asked with reference to names of the drugs, vaccines and its relevance to disease. For example, a couple of names can be given: Covaxin, Remdesivir, Toluzumab, and they could ask why was this in news recently. Also, questions can be formed with reference to regulatory bodies such as the CDSCO, the Act, etc. Also, questions can be formed with reference to committee that need not only be in India but also on a worldwide basis. Now, from mains perspective, questions can be related to public health infrastructure, investment in science and technology, research, etc. And why did we talk about GS paper 4? I specifically wanted to look at ethics case study. Now, if you would have read the editorial, you would have noticed this line. There have been instances when disease mortality is so high that not offering even a half-baked drug or a vaccine would be unethical. That is a call regulators have to constantly take. Now, a case study on this front can be looked. For example, a question may ask where you are the bureaucrat. You are submitted with evidence on quality and side effects. What will you do? So, dear viewers, we must always be prepared to expect any form of questions, be it prelims or for mains, from UPSC. With this, we conclude today's session of editorial analysis. Hope we have made justice to explaining this editorial analysis in the best way possible. Dear viewers, please feel free to give your valuable suggestions and opinions. Until next time, stay safe and thank you.